Well, however long you want to stay, mama. My mia mama. Hello, everybody. Where am I? Where am I? I'm here. Hello. It's me, Jeff Kravitz. Welcome to 420 Live. I am your host with the most, coming to you live. It's 420 wherever you are. You should be sitting back, relaxing, getting ready for a power hour tonight. Our pre-dinner and a movie entertainment will take you into the land of the ladies of Phish. Today we will talk to three more of the, I call them super fans. We're all of us Phish heads are super fans. Everybody, we all love music. We're all on the same page here. You know, I don't think that there's a lot of diversity. I see everybody arguing about all the second, third, and fourth and fifth tier jam bands. I just saw the guys from the Pigeons playing ping pong, fans attacking the goose. The pigeons are attacking the geese. You know, the birds are all flocking together and feathers are flying everywhere. But, you know, there's a lot of good things happening. There's live music. And tomorrow we have Greg Ormont from Pigeons playing ping pong on the show. And he could talk to us about the controversy himself. They're actually on a tour. They played last weekend at a drive-in, and they'll be at another drive-in this weekend in Philadelphia at the Philly Stadium, where Bert Kreischer played last night. Tonight, Nick Perry, and who we had on the show, Nick Perry and Underground Thieves, is opening up for the Struts out there in Philadelphia under the stars. It looks like a beautiful setup. Everybody's safe. Our friends at Humphreys McGee, they announced that they're going to be playing on the 4th and 5th of September. Everybody's lining up and playing. Where's the Phish? Well, we all know the problem there, don't we? That there's going to be 100,000 people that are going to want to go see Phish when they come back. And we're all going to want to be together. And we're not at that level yet. So the first tier jam bands, they're not coming out. But I think we're going to see all the other jam bands come out and keep us entertained. And, you know, hopefully that'll be enough for us. I know that one thing about Phish fans, they like Phish a lot. And like I said, we're all in the same boat. We're all huge heads. It's all something that drive us, our fandom. It makes us go out. It makes us travel. I mean, think about all the flights and all the hotel rooms you used to book and how you tried to be ahead of the curve. Like when you went to stay at the Gorge or any of those venues that had limited capacity for rooms, going up to the Gorge. I stayed in some very interesting places over the years that I would have never stayed at anyway. You sacrifice a lot when you're going on the road and you want to have something like an air conditioner in a room. The Vantage Motor Inn right off which is also the post office, and the campground, the KOA campground, was all the same thing. I think the mayor actually lived in the general store, post office, right there in Vantage on the river. Every time we'd go up to the Gorge, I was really bummed not to be able to go up the Gorge this year. We're all readjusting our mojo and our lives to make room for, you know, the pandemic, you know. And as you know, I don't spend a lot of time talking about the pandemic or the idiot in charge, because that's not really what we're here. We're here for distraction. We're here to take you away from the parts of the day that are irritating and to bring you a little love and joy. I know, hey, we're up against a real Hollywood celebrity today, because somebody told me Joseph Gordon-Levitt, I didn't even realize this guy was a Phish head, is out talking to everybody today. So people were warning me, oh, you're up against JGL. And I'm like, I don't really care. I never saw this guy at a Phish show. Have anybody out there seen Joe Gordon-Levitt at a Phish show? I'd like to see your comment here and a little photograph of you with him. But it's great that these people are all Phish heads. I love that we stretch out far and wide. And as you know, Phish used to be the largest gathering of the male species in America. Back in the 1.0 days, you would go, and there is a famous picture I took at Hampton when the band got together in 2009 from the back of Trey, where you look out, you can see about 3,000, 4,000 people, and you can't see one lady, maybe one or two ladies in the crowd. Well, if you go to a Phish show today and take that same shot, it's a completely different audience. So last week we talked to some of our guy friends that are super fans, and today we're talking to some of the ladies equal time. And I'm going to bring in each lady individually. We're going to talk to them for a couple minutes, and then we're going to have a little group discussion about the scene and what's going on. So first up, Miss Jeni Enck. Jeni runs the Custy Noob on Instagram and on Facebook, and she also works with and is partners with Jim Pollock. And we'd like to invite Jeni onto the show. Hello, Jeni.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing good. I am, surviving the keeping myself busy. Let's say.
Are you back in California?
No, I'm still in New Jersey. I'm waiting for the MTV Video Music Awards are supposed to be next weekend, the 29th, the 30th. So I'm supposed to shoot. This show's going to be in 5 different boroughs in New York, and that's what I'm staying for because I'm quarantined already, so I can work. But it's not too much torture. How's your summer been without music and traveling around the country?
Great.
It has been great in a way, though, hasn't it?
Sure. There's a lot of projects I caught up on, but it's not what I'd prefer to be doing.
Of course. Tell us when was your first show? How did you discover Phish?
The Fleaser, 6/22/95. I had a little. I grew up in a small town. I always say it's the kind of place where the cows outnumber the people in upstate New York. And if you wanted to go see music, unless it was your friend's band playing at the coffee shop, you had to get in the car and drive an hour or two. And I did not have permission to go an hour or two from home until I was basically 17, graduating from high school. So the senior week, which is just a bullshit, everybody's graduating, nobody cares. You can kind of skip every day and do whatever. So on 6/21/95, I drove to Albany and saw my first Dead show. And it went down in history as being the worst Dead show maybe ever.
Was that Highgate?
No, at the Enck, Albany.
Oh, Albany. Okay.
And then little known thing, Mike was actually at that show, I guess. I heard somebody, anyway. 6/22/95, next night I went to see Phish in Canandaigua at Finger Lakes. And holy shit. I mean, I might not have been completely sober, but I was so confused. I mean, the second set is 3 songs. And I just kept pestering a friend of mine, this guy Jesse, who brought me to my first show. I'm like, what the hell? Like, is this still Tweezer? What is happening? And we were out on the lawn, and he gave me his pavilion ticket and said, why don't you go inside and check it out? And I did. And nobody cared. I probably walked right up to maybe 5th row and stood there in the aisle and watched the end of that, and then saw them leave the stage, come back out, each with acoustic guitars, and play Acoustic Army. And I was like, such a noob, but holy shit, even the drummer, I had no idea. I was like,
and how about the difference between seeing the Dead, who were kind of towards the end, that was the end of their career in 95, to see them compared to Phish in 95 was like watching one band sleepwalking and the other band shot through with lightning.
Yeah, it was the most ridiculous thing. And I had only been, I had heard some live stuff, but I wasn't the huge tape trader or anything. I was a high school kid. I really only heard what friends gave me to listen to. But it was just night and day. It just.
And when did you start with the Custy Noob?
Oh, that was it was 3.0. It started this first show back 3.0, but prior to that, my friends and I were referred to as Team Debacle because it just, everything is always wrong, and it just goes wrong. We're just assholes. You know, we're only friends because we're grandfathered in. You know, we've been through so much together that you know, and we have just as much fun going to see a show that, you know, you or I might not think was great musically or bad song choices or whatever. We have just as much fun making fun of that and making fun of each other. Then
well, you know, it's interesting. Even I did read the Joseph Gordon-Levitt interview, and one of the things he talked about in the paragraph that I read was how it was always about him and his friends, that he was singing the song 20 years ago, that he remembers singing 20 years back the same song at a show with his friends, you know, and just how it is all about the friends. And even when the band's not playing well or something like that, it is the scene that kind of keeps us all together.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's one thing that I've mentioned to Trey on more than one occasion is, you know, I am eternally grateful to you, not for the music, but for the friends that I know will be lifelong. It's just, you know, we're all in this together.
Yeah, it's totally true. And well, I appreciate coming on. I'm gonna bring Ashley Driscoll in from GrooveSafe. Ashley is working to create safe spaces at concerts for women to party in, because we know that men can get a little handsy at times. So let's welcome Ashley into the show. Hi, Ashley.
Hey, everybody.
How are you? Here,
I'm doing okay.
I'll give us a little separation here so we could actually see everybody. Ashley, how did you come to the Phish scene?
Well, I have a kind of interesting beginning. I listened to Phish in high school. I started kind of listening to the Dead and Dylan and kind of that style. And then a friend of mine introduced me to Phish, but I actually didn't get to a show until, wait for it, 8/14/04, which, if you guys know, is the infamous Coventry Festival, the Goodbye Festival. It's funny because anytime I ever say that, people go, oh my God, Coventry was your first show, you know? And I was 21 at the time. A friend of mine from Virginia, went to college, called me and said, I got 3 festival passes. I'm not going. I don't want to go. Do you want to go? And I was like, sure, mail them up. So he FedExed overnight them to me. And I was living on Cape Cod at the time, walked into this kind of hangout cottage, we called it, and was like, who wants to go to Phish? My friend Oliver stood up. He's like, Josh has a tent in the car. Let's go. I was like, all right. It was in Vermont, you know, obviously, so it wasn't too far. And I checked the map beforehand. We saw the traffic backing up, and I was like, take this exit. And they were like, no, dude, like this, you know, we're going this way. And I was like, take this exit. And so they did. And we pulled off, and there was a sign that said ride to Phish, $20. And I hopped in the back of a pickup, literally, with our like one backpack, you know, and that was my hard time getting to Coventry. And I know it was a nightmare for a lot of people. And being 21, my first festival, I had the time of my life. I didn't know until months later that it was a nightmare and that it was a disaster. I do remember people crying, and I was like, oh, they're so sad Phish is going away. And I don't know, it's wild. And I guess I always say that it was only like uphill from there. Because the shows, I had to wait 5 years, but they only got better, you know, 140 whatever later.
Well, no, it's interesting that's really the first time that I've heard someone talk positively about Coventry. And I guess if you really didn't know what you were walking into, and that was your only Phish experience, that you're like, hey, this is kind of fun. And especially if you didn't have to walk in or park on the freeway, and you got your access was in, because a lot of people's nightmare was just getting there.
Right, exactly. Or not getting in at all, getting turned away on the radio and like all that, and getting a consolation prize. And so I think about it, I'm really lucky, because obviously if anyone had a bad experience that first time in that moment, they probably wouldn't have the same feelings. And so I think I'm lucky in that way. I remember walking around on Shakedown for the first time. I think I ate like an edible brownie and was just like poking around, looking at like blown glass and stuff like that. And all of a sudden was like, I feel funny. And then, you know, whatever else the weekend brought, I remember the guys on the rocks playing out, and I was like, dude, this band is super cool. And again, I was a noob. I was 21 years old. I had been listening to music, been seeing shows for a long time, not, music concerts in general. And of course that was long time, was 5 years when I was 21, but either way.
Yeah. So cut the 3.0 rolls around, and you dove in head first, I assume.
Yeah. Fenway Park, my hometown, Boston. They were playing on my baseball field, and I called in Ticketmaster, and everyone was complaining they weren't getting the tickets they wanted. And I got 4 on the field, like in section B or something. And there was a lot of debuts that night. I know it's 3.0 stuff, but it's some special stuff. I think Light debuted that night, and maybe even Time Turns Elastic. But it was, and then after that, I dove in pretty hard, and met some really awesome like online friends. And once that kind of 3.0 online community started, and some are now a little bit toxic. I know we talked to the guys last week, and they have different styles of online groups, of course.
Of course. And that's one of the things I appreciate is that there's different personalities on the scene, and everybody has to find their own way, because like nobody wants Mandy in their group. So Mandy had to start his own group. It's pretty hilarious, but there's always been drama with the Phish and the fans. So
I know. And Mandy's always been real good to me. Same with Fink. But like, it was funny because even today, Fink was sharing that we were going to be on. And then Mandy, of course, said something like, I'm going to pinch Josh's butt or ass the whole time during the webcast tonight. And I was like, dude, we got this, so we go back and forth, and I appreciate the humor. So,
and so how did you come to find GrooveSafe, and when did you start that?
Well, 2017. So we're a nonprofit. We're 501c3. Like you said before, the goal is to stop unwanted touching and really focus on building consent culture in our scene and Phish scene and jam band scene, and beyond. Like it's really I wanted to grow into all genres, because there's an issue with that disrespecting body space and all that. And so it was 2017. I had been working on it for a while because it had been happening to me a lot. And I kind of was on the edge of not really wanting to see shows anymore, Phish or anything. And I realized that I shouldn't have to stop doing what I love in order to for these people to continue these behaviors, men and women alike. I mean, I really push for all genders to be included, because I feel like everyone should have a voice, and no one should be touched without their permission. So I was, I think it was after Northerly Island 2017. I was on the way to Dayton, and I had heard some bad reports from, I don't want to it's a personal story, so I don't want to tell their story right now.
You don't mention any names, but just tell us the general.
It was some balloon situation where someone was really aggressively groped, and I said, that now is my time. GrooveSafe we have to start getting out there after some research and talking to people, and so we launched then 2017, and we built the website and stuff in 2018, and then we got our nonprofit federal tax exempt status for the nonprofit in 2019, and we've been doing a lot since then. Live music or live interviews. Sorry, someone walked in.
That's fine. Don't worry about it.
And don't remember where I was going. Oh yeah. So now we have, I think, 75 bands. Not Phish officially, but we have a presence in the Phish community, but that we work with, and they kind of spread our message. Because I can't be everywhere all the time. The bands will take the merchandise. I might have a little pin, so I hand these out to bands, and the idea is that you wear the logo and kind of spread the message as saying that you're an ally. You obviously disagree with assault, and you're kind of together in building this safer culture, and really focused on consent out there. And
how do people know to show where the safe space is?
So it's not necessarily a designated space, and more of a movement and like a conversation, and people looking out for each other. We have everybody that's educated on it is able to talk to one more other person or look out for bad behaviors, or we do some intervention, bystander intervention training or teaching or hints where if someone seems to be in distress, go ask them a question. I've told people that even if it's bouncing around the room playing, you say, hey, what's the name of this song? And then they'll engage with you. And if they need you, they'll continue to engage with you. And if they they're fine, you never know what that dynamic is. They'll say like, hey, thanks, see you later, have a nice show. And then you kind of can gauge. It's really kind of just looking out for each other.
Right.
And
I go to Burning Man every year, and that's one of the top 10 of the principles is consent. I mean, so this is something that's drilled into burners' heads for the past couple decades, and it's very important, I think, that the whole scene gets on board with this. So I think that the work you're doing is very, very important. How has it been received in the scene?
It's really great. There's two things really. Some people say that they can't imagine this is happening, and they want it explained to them, or they want to learn about it. And other people who have experienced it just say like, thank God, I've been waiting. I've been scared to talk about it. I'm afraid. I don't know what to do. It's, I freeze in these moments. So overall, it's either educating or supporting. And even though we don't have safe spaces literally at Phish and other things like that, we do festivals. So we have booths in the nonprofit row so people can come and get information or just hang out, take a break, ask questions.
Well, and also to tell people that they should just turn around and just get that finger in that face. And
it's hard sometimes because people aren't comfortable or they don't feel safe to do that though.
Oh my God, come on. Well, Jenny's telling people to shut up all the time. I'm telling people to stop smoking all the time. I mean, if something bothers me at a show, I am not shy.
Yeah, I mean, I've learned to say, back the F off, or I've grabbed wrists before and like, you can't touch me. But some people, depend on their history or their trauma history or their life, like they just get really uncomfortable and really scared, and it triggers a lot of bad stuff. So that's why we teach people to be aware and help their friends. And, it's women and everybody, but especially women, speaking for myself, is you should be able to go to a show alone and not feel threatened or have any fear. You buy the ticket to watch the show. So it's scary that we're in a place where my shoulders were in.
Also, there's no reason to go to a show alone. There's always friends, and you always have somebody that you can, a crew that you can glom onto too. That is welcome to have a beautiful new. My whole thing about the ladies is they smell so much better than the men that I love when they're in front of me, because all the product just comes wafting off of them rather than the wook smell that I get off of Mandy Berman every time I got to stand behind him.
Well, yeah, he's kind of.
For her.
But truly, if women feel safe and they don't have any fear, then this doesn't become, the problem's not there, and you can enjoy your time and you can listen to it feeling safe, and you can smell the smells, and that I love interacting with people. I if it's okay with them, I like hugging and I like dancing, but it needs to be consensual and mutual.
There's a line, and that people definitely know when they're crossing it. They definitely know.
It's really the tough area. You have to ask. You really do. And I mean, I always say, like, I'm not prude. Like, I love having fun. I love having fun.
Right. And you never know. Someone might say, sure, let's boogie, So what's the worst thing that can happen?
I would say, yes, let's have some fun. Like,
Let's face it, we've all been shot down before. We know how to handle rejection at this point in our lives.
Well, we should be okay with it. Because some people get mad at it, whatever, bitch. And I'm like, I just don't want to touch you. Is that cool? Thanks. Like, and then I feel bad. I shouldn't have to feel bad for saying that.
Well, the beautiful thing you can think about now is that COVID is doing all your work for you, because now you're going to be 6 feet away from the person next to you, and you're like, we're all going to be grooving safe. It has a lot different meaning.
The drive-ins are great. You got your own space. You can boogie down. You don't worry about it. It's interesting. Even with COVID, though, it's something that I've been thinking about, sort of launching a campaign based on reemerging, and because the same consent and body safety and comfort is a similar theme, because some people are not ready. They're not ready. And I think they should be taught that it's okay to feel ready and it's okay to feel not ready. And whatever that means to you, like, I'm not ready to hug people, and I love hugging. So I think that it's something that we can teach there too, maybe.
I love it. Amazing cause. And I appreciate you coming on today. Our third guest, we had Bethany Barker on, but Bethany had a COVID test today and it ruined her voice. And she said she would come back. So the Phish Chicks will be back on if you tune in to see Bethany. But she put her friend Elizabeth Beck. Elizabeth has just completed the book Summer Tour. So welcome Elizabeth Beck to the party. Hi,
everybody.
How are you?
Hi, everybody. I'm great. Thank you.
Welcome to the show.
I appreciate being here.
Tell us a little bit how and when you came to the Phish scene.
Well, I came to the Phish scene via the Grateful Dead. I'm a little older than the women, so I loved hearing their stories and when they came to Phish. My first show was in '92. My first Grateful Dead show was my senior year of high school, which was '86. So, you know, I've kind of been with the band on and off since. I really enjoyed the conversation about the fact that back in the day, in the early '90s, particularly, I can talk about a Kent State show that turned me off the Phish for quite a long time, where it was all male-dominated scene. I called them a bunch of monkey cats, and I would describe the band by saying that they were doing guitar peel-out music and crescendos into oblivion. And the monkey cats would, you know, bounce up and down. There were no women to be found. And coming from the Grateful Dead scene, that was very disorienting for me, because they had, you know, all the spinner girls and all the mamas that were there and everything. So to watch the evolution of women coming into the scene, and particularly the work that you're doing with GrooveSafe, thank you, has been really, really exciting for me. So, but yes, I published a book. Can I flash it up there, Jeff?
Yeah, let's see it.
It's called Summer Tour, and it's all about what you're talking about, friendship. I'm terrible at this. I'm a teacher. I should know better. Can you see it?
No, it looks great. I love the cover. It looks like it has a Cape Cod style house with many colors on it, right?
Well, that's Catwise. Kat O'Sullivan, who's an incredible designer, was the inspiration. Her house is called the Calico House. And when I started writing this novel about 6 years ago, I reached out to her, a big fan of her work and her sweaters. And I asked if I could have permission to include the book in the mythological town of Maywood, Ohio, where our hero Sam comes right between his junior and senior year of high school and meets a group of kids who get into an RV called CB Greenberg, and he finds his family, and they went on tour summer of 2019. So it's a very specific and authentic. The set lists that are included are the set lists, their experiences, the rain at Fenway, the St. Louis Blues with the, you know, the Stanley
Gloria.
Cup, you know, the Camden shows, Blossom. So, and how he found his way. It's a coming of age tale through his community, much like what you guys were talking about in real life. I tried to capture here in fiction, and his community of his people, his family.
It's a fictional book. How much of it pulls from your experiences?
All of it.
All of it. So Sam is basically you.
Including him getting spun at Blossom. Mine was at Deer Creek. And in the books, Claire and Sam break up to go to the restrooms. And of course, the lines aren't working out. And while he's waiting for her, he gets confused because people start lining up behind him. But he's not lined up for anything. And so he keeps looking back. And the more he keeps looking, the more these people, and he's completely disoriented why these people would be lining up. He wants to tell the people behind him, hey, we're not in line for anything. We're not in line. You know, of course, when he steps aside just one step, he's no longer in line. Nobody was in line. You know, it's all, you know, so definitely. So it's, but it is a research-based text. So even though I didn't go on that particular tour last summer, I was calculating the miles, the RV sites, the KOAs, what time did the rain come down in Fenway? Was it an intense rain? What time was this? You know, those kind of things. And one of the things that I'm most proud of was capturing the entire community. So I talk about all, you know, the Phish Chicks and female centrics. I talk about the lot scene. I talk about as much music as I can possibly, all the other bands that are in the jam band scene, kind of my love letter and tribute. And then, of course, I included one Dead and Company show.
Was this your first book?
Yeah, my first novel. Yeah, I'm a poet. I've published books of poetry, but this was my debut work. And I was querying. I finished it. My husband and I went up to Madison Square Garden for New Year's Eve because I didn't know how to finish the book. I needed to know what Sam and Claire and Chris and Taylor, how we were going to finish it. So as my characters went, my husband and I caught a plane here from Kentucky to New York and were there at the show. And I came back and finished it, and I started the process of writing query letters for literary agents. And I was getting declined. I mean, agents don't like Phish. Bizarre. I don't know why they don't like Phish. I probably would have never published it had it not been for the pandemic. And when all the tours got canceled, I thought, you know, I have an opportunity to share a little joy, a little escapism, a little fantasy. And the fact that it was set in last summer's actual tour, I didn't realize at the time I was capturing the end of an era, so to speak. Of course, we'll get back. We'll be back. But so that's
last summer was the last full tour, the last of any length. I mean, there were 3 more runs between then and last summer. We had fall, New Year's, and Mexico. But yeah, you're right.
These were seniors in high school, you know, so they were busy. So I'm right now writing the second book, and it picks up where it lets off. So the characters go to see Train Anastasia Band at Louisville, Bourbon and Beyond, because I was there. They went to see the Trey acoustic show at the Victoria Theater. Did you guys catch any of those acoustic ones he did? Oh my God.
Oh yeah, I saw him in LA at the Disney Hall. Yeah.
I mean, he's a storyteller, but when he's just stripped down himself, and I was laughing because the Victoria Theater, you guys, is this tiny little venue, and there are all these old people, nobody's smoking weed, nothing, you know, like nobody were even taking tickets after the first couple songs. I kept thinking back in 92 or 93, we would have burned that venue down. I was but it was fabulous.
But the fan base was growing in 92 and 93. It's not where it is now. Like now.
Do you remember the show Memorial Hall, though, where they pulled the fire alarm because we were smoking so much they couldn't, and they pulled it and they made us evacuate. I mean, I just think that there's a little bit more of a sophistication to the scene now when you take into consideration groups like the Little Ragers with their families coming in and people of every age. You know, I don't know. I like all of it.
Let's go back to something you said when you first came on, which is the transfer from a totally male-dominated scene to one where females were embraced and encouraged. I don't remember seeing that, like 2009. I don't think the change had happened yet. I think it was a couple years after that, even because Hampton coming back was incredibly male-dominated from the pictures I saw. But I
think that's why it's so important. GrooveSafe shouldn't be a space at a venue. It should be the venue.
Yes, GrooveSafe should be everywhere we are. You should be able to GrooveSafe everywhere. And that's why Ashley says there's no specific places. It's just the way you have to carry yourself. And I think giving people a strategy, Ashley, like you said, on how to act when something's going down so people understand a course of action.
Yeah. Well, heightened awareness for those men to not behave in that way, even having dialogues that perhaps they haven't heard, because women have been talking about it forever, right?
Sure. We had a program that we started right before COVID to have venue partnerships. I was really proud of it, and it's on hold because venues aren't operating currently. But we had signage that we were going to do in the bathrooms and by the bar. The slogan for the campaign was "Self-expression is not an invitation," and then it says "Consent is mandatory." This venue supports a safe environment for all its guests, and that was going to be non-aggressive, simple wording and signage for people to get used to the logo and get used to the idea that it's not accepted and like it's a no tolerance kind of situation for any kind of hate, but especially for that unwanted touching and inappropriate conduct like that. So I'm kind of bummed out, but I'm hoping that it'll catch back up whenever we can do it, because it's not happening currently, but that's definitely an idea that I was working on for sure.
Jeni, did you see a big discrepancy between male and female fans?
It's still a sausage fest to me.
I agree, but when you look in front of Trey, he's got a little bevy of blonde hair, the product flying all over the place. I never saw the group of girls like the ladies that he has now out there on that rail that have really commanded space on the rail. And I think the guys appreciate it much more to see, the beauty down there than these guys like gorillas.
And some of them actually have brains in their heads. So, you know.
Good God.
Most of them.
I watch a lot of shows behind the stage. It's one of my favorite spots. And so I was just overjoyed when I just saw the sea of sparkles up front, big sequence kid. So it makes me really happy to see all the women up front, just pure joy and having so much fun. It's one of my favorite things to look over the crowd.
That behind the stage at MSG?
No, she's saying looking out, right? From back.
Behind Trey, like looking at his perspective and seeing.
If you get in that spot at MSG, it's like there's no other space like it. I mean, it's the best seats in the house. It just
any venue that there's behind in that style, I enjoy it. I think Hampton, I went back to.
This makes me happy. It reminds me of my Grateful Dead days with my girlfriends in college. Right, we would take off. We went to Chicago. Oh, we went to Memphis to see the Grateful Dead at the Pyramid. And there was this Elvis guy who kept stripping down like to his underwear and just his wig by the end of the time I saw him. But it was just us girls. I mean, we would just take off and go to shows and never once felt unsafe or uncomfortable. I felt my early days of Phish was more just disassociated from them, right? And it was really weird too, right? Because here's this yummy, floaty, awesome music that I'm like grooving to, and the culture around it seemed kind of incongruent at times. So I've been really hardened by the evolution of everything, and I say that the Phish Chicks are the matriarchy of the Phish world right now, kind of the backbone of, and the support and encouragement that the women give each other and each other's businesses and each other's projects and everything else, I think is really phenomenal.
So it's almost like everybody's floating everybody's boat. Everybody's helping float everybody's boat together.
Well, a lot more so than one particular Facebook group I could, mention that has blocked and banned me for life, but it's a badge of honor, I guess, if the addicted Phish Sticks don't like me. Oh, you're not the admin, are you, dude? Anyway, I do think that
you're not my first guest banned by a fan group. Mandy Berman's been banned by 50 fan groups, I think, in his time.
Okay.
So he had to start his own. What was that, Ashley?
And some more than once. He got back in and got kicked out again.
There you go.
But I mean, it's something like you just have to associate or, jump into the ones that are positive or that fit you well. We are working on, we have been always do is during quarantine, we saw a lot of those groups get extremely more toxic and hateful and disrespectful. And so something I thought was really important is to put out a message. We called it quarantine kindness, but it was basically focusing on, is it necessary? Is it helpful? And is it kind? Like when posting online, because trolling isn't cool anymore. Like for a while it was like, oh, we're being funny. And now it can be really hurtful. And I mean, there's always time for humor and a joke, but for some reason the humor and the level of funny stuff just like tanked. And now it just started being really mean, rude, racist, sexist. So I think that even though there are those bad groups, I'm going against the tide, really trying to show that you don't have to be rude and mean to be funny. And I think with the women holding each other up, supporting each other, and kind of backing each other up, even though there are some women on women internet fights all the time, but just the idea that we don't have to act like that, especially during a time where everyone is really heightened and really upset and really having a tough time. So, I mean, it's not just sunshine and rainbows, but it's just kind of an idea that you could be funny with.
So you're telling me that the women are just as bad as the men, basically.
Oh, I mean, we're all human. We're human, and people have bad days.
But just as petty and arguing about like, that show was great and no, that show sucked and here's why it sucked and here's why it was great, and then it just escalates into more abuse. Or is it like critiquing?
Sometimes it's personal. Like, why does that bother you that your friend's kid's brother's dog is, I don't know, has that haircut. It's something because people are bored and they have aggression. Everybody, I think, because this time that we're in is just so difficult mentally, and I think people are just feeling it and they don't know how to channel it. So maybe there's some lesson to have there where we could be better and nicer and maybe go outside instead.
Well, I mean, tone is so miscommunicated via text. So as a writer, I spend an enormous amount of time crafting my words to make sure that exactly what I'm intending to say is being received and communicated by my reader, who will receive my book, I don't know, thousands of miles away from me. I'm not going to be able to stand on their shoulder for them to say, hey, Elizabeth, what do you mean by this? And I think consequently, regardless of emojis or what have you, I think flare-ups come out of miscommunications, of misinterpretation of tone in those particular circumstances.
And sometimes sarcasm does not read. I mean, you
can
need
to share your opinion is sometimes something I notice. It's like
continue to try.
Yeah,
oh.
I feel like that's part of it.
People try, and then listen. Because I was in a management course on how to deal with the opposite sex in the workplace. Like a sexual harassment course. And when I was done the 4-hour internet course, I realized that I couldn't really crack a joke. You can't really compliment someone. Oh, your hair looks nice today. I like the way that blouse looks. Or even what you think is a funny joke. Everything that comes out of your mouth in a work situation should be work related, because you're not as funny as you think you are, and whatever joke you're trying to make isn't going to land the way you think it is. And if it doesn't, you could lose your job or get sued over it. And that's kind of the reason they made me take the course. And I realized, I'm like, it's better if I just keep my mouth shut. I don't want to lose my job over anything. I'm just going to keep my mouth shut, and I'm not going to get involved in conversations. And if somebody looks nice, I'm going to say hi. You can't go there.
That's because we're trying to shift a paradigm. This isn't just about you and your own particular lifetime. This has been historically how women have been treated. So to hear you speak like that, I mean, is so incredibly encouraging, right? It means that there's going to be a paradigm shift, that you're actually acknowledging and understanding, look, it's just not appropriate. And that's why would I even say that? Think about the comments you would be tending to make to women. Would you say that to the man who was standing next to you? Oh, I really dig those shoes. Okay, well, if you do, then go ahead and say it. But
I've seen guys with some great shoes too. So I do say, like, nice shirt. I mean, that's the kind of thing you say, or nice haircut, or what happened to your hair, or whatever kind of things.
Okay, I don't think you should ever ask what happened to your hair.
Well, when you're talking to your guy friends, I let it loose. And with your female friends that you're close enough with, that you can say things that you have a relationship with and a rapport with, it's a lot easier. But when people where you don't know the person, you don't know the situation, it's better to be as respectful as you can and err on the side of respectfulness. Correct?
Right. Yeah, correct. That's right. Yeah. They say not to comment on anything physical as a starting line, to just, if it's easier to think about that. But something I was just thinking about is that I talk to a lot of men, because like you mentioned, the shift of the paradigm, like some of them just don't realize, not that they can't obviously grope and grab, but that it's happening so often and how it makes us feel, or, the kind of lessons that are out there to be taught, and what they can bring to their male friends and female friends, like, hey, this is something that people are talking about. And that's what keeping that conversation going, so that it isn't taboo anymore and it's not awkward. Like I always joke that Brownie from Biscuits, we joke a lot about making awkward cool, because maybe you will have to ask someone to dance, and it's like everyone's like, oh, that's weird, but like, make it cool. It doesn't awkward. We're all really weird, so like it's probably not as awkward as it feels at first. And to just go for it and be respectful while you're doing it. Like I ask for hugs now because I feel like people deserve a choice.
Can I ask you a question? We have, as our group of friends, Custy Noob, whatever, we have a list of 100 unwritten rules, but one of the first ones is you can't play grab ass at a Phish show. It's just, that's not why we're here. We're here to see fun. So when you say that you ask people for a hug, like, is this because they're coming on to you and it's inappropriate and this is like your way of saying, I'm just going to cut this off the chase, get the hell out of here, you know?
No, I don't necessarily mean it in a moment of inappropriate behavior being acted on to me. I mean it more like I feel like people deserve respect. So I'm even at the point where when I want to greet someone, I ask them, even if I'm meeting them for the first time, because I feel like I used to be like, hey, but now I'm trying to say like, oh, wait a minute, maybe I should ask them before I engage in that.
But so you're not using it as you're just saying in general, you know,
right, for like my adjusting my behaviors.
So as far as, you know, if you're in a situation like I'm just thinking about something that happened at Dick's, and I think it was 2017, where I literally saw a guy going after a woman on the rail, and I got security. The only way I could get security was taking a flashlight and getting their attention.
Wow, yeah.
I told them, they did nothing. Then the second time, this is a pro tip, I told the security the guy had glass. And then everyone was like, oh,
right.
And then
that was more, problem.
Glass in the venue. And they finally came and took the guy away. But I mean, it like in that moment, and you said before that it's like, you know, some people, you know, close up or they don't want confrontation and they don't know what to do. Like I knew that if I didn't do something, this guy was going to do something to her.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I'm definitely sorry, go ahead, finish your question. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
You know, what is your advice, you know, for someone? I mean, I know you're trying to change your behavior and you know, this is how you greet and it's all about consent and all that. But like, if you can give some very specific advice, like if you're in this situation, what the hell do you do?
Yeah. So I mean, it's definitely like we talked about. It's uphill battle. It's a system that's been the same way for a long time. So I mean, I have examples of security guards. Head of security MSG asked a woman reporting, was he good looking? Like that's what we're going up against. So the things that we recommend if you want to help someone is if you feel comfortable interacting. Are you asking if you see it or if it's happening to you, or maybe both?
Yeah, I mean, I know, like you said, if it's happening to you, you might freeze in that situation. Not everyone can predict, you know, how they're going to be made to feel. But
yeah, that's why every
like, you know, like me, you know, I just kind of do shit, whether it is advisable or not. But
yeah, I mean, I think it's a couple ideas where if you feel comfortable stepping in, it's like you did, you got security. That's one thing to do. But if you also can ask the person in trouble or that's in distress, any kind of a question of any kind, or some people even want to directly be like, hey man, knock it off. And that depends on your level of comfort and safety. There's definitely a variety of ways to be an active bystander is something that's kind of the term. And we're really trying to teach the security at venues and change that whole dynamic. But it's, like I said, it's an uphill battle. I think that I would love to teach people to get the confidence to say that this isn't okay. Hey man, knock it off. If it's happening to you, like I've grabbed, like I said, grabbed wrists, or I've grabbed the person next to me that I don't know them and been like, I need to switch with you. And you know, that's see how that plays out. But
that's what makes the most sense to me is if somebody's bothering you and they're right behind you, is ask somebody next to you to switch or just be like, hey, this guy's bothering me. I mean, I am like a lifeguard at these things. I'm telling more people, I'm calling people violations. I should have a whistle at a Phish show. Hey, stop that. Yeah. Hey, you over there. I feel like a cop sometimes, and I'm tall, so people come to me for protection at times if there's an issue, and I don't mind stepping in anytime there's an issue and telling some walk the back off. And I mean, I kind of get into it, actually. But yes, I think there are people there that you could tell by looking at their vibe who is like clear, and who you can try to be like, hey, I need a hand right now, and everybody is willing to help a lady in distress at a Phish show. And if they're not, I will come talk to them. So
great, and if they're not, that means that we haven't done our work yet. But hopefully, the idea is that the movement continues. People talk about it more, and they get these ideas like we've just talked about a little bit. Then the venue's more able. It's the problem is people are up front, they're in the spot, they're in the middle of a sea of people. It's really difficult to try to get out of your spot, either to help someone or help yourself. So there's these little smaller picture ideas instead of the natural thing we've been taught our whole lives is go get security or law enforcement or whatever. But we can work it within our little circles, I think, to be aware of it, to step in safely and correctly, which, I mean, we're still building what that means and what that looks like, because it is new almost.
And I
have so many women that say, "Oh, I'm just not."
And also what goes a long way is you dumping a drink on someone.
What do you mean?
That's always worked. When you dump a drink on someone's head, that always tells everyone around that person's a complete asshole. So we're coming close to the end.
There are ways.
Yes, there are ways. We're coming close to the end, and the hour's going so fast because the conversation's so interesting. So I want to give each of you. I asked the guys this last week, and I want to give you guys the opportunity to answer this question. And we'll start with Jeni. And the question is, what do you think the future holds for our scene and for Phish?
I don't know what the pandemic and being a year and change off is going to do, but I felt like 3.0 really, you and I had talked about it earlier about how 2018 fall was just fire. And, they were hitting a peak, and as much as I don't want this to happen, I feel like maybe they lose a step and we have to rebuild that. 3.0 didn't start off great. It just was difficult. But
like you said, it really caught a head of steam, and I thought summer ended strong for me. Yeah. Fall started really strong for me, and New Year's was incredibly strong. And I thought Mexico could have been some of the best playing of any of the Mexico runs was in Mexico this year. So I was really, like you said, very high on what was going on and looking forward to the next step. But
I'm optimistic, but cautious.
Optimistic, but cautious. Yeah. Ashley?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I would love to see the band continue to grow with us, have our community really focus on the reason we're there is to see the music and have a good time. Obviously, the pandemic aside, if it means a break for people to sort of reboot, and not a hiatus, but just because we are literally forced to be in a break, I think we'll come back strong. And hopefully, in the meantime, we can build something and kind of come together instead of separate. I would love to see that and kind of reignite the passion to really want to get back to a show. And obviously safely, GrooveSafe safe and pandemic safe. And I mean, maybe we see those quadrant shows, like not drive-in Phish, but something creative, that way that those platforms were, I think it was in the United Kingdom or something.
Yeah, but those platforms, there were 500 platforms that held 5 people each. And that was on a field the size of Bonnaroo, the field that would hold 70,000, holding 2,500 economically doesn't scale.
I know, right? But I'm saying, is there an idea that will make it close but not exact, just so we can do it? I don't know if I want it kind of amended or just all in, but obviously safety and respect is really important to me no matter what. So hopefully that's what we're doing.
Elizabeth.
Yes, I could not even predict because it is Phish, but it's definitely going to continue and evolve and grow. I don't have any doubt or question. Trey, to me, seems like he's just pouring creativity out of every ounce of his being. I don't see that stopping. in any way, shape, or form. I think it's just going to be an evolution. We just have to be patient.
Well, the guy is locked up in New York City in an apartment with nothing to do, and he's used to being all over the country traveling and doing
I read it.
and orchestras and movies and acoustic tours and 3 trios and 8-piece bands and Phish. I mean, that guy has so much, and Oysterhead. He has so much on his plate. And now he's
But
just
I read
around.
an article that he just was interviewed for when he was equating this time period to being like back in his apartment in Vermont, you know, like in the early days, just writing, you know, I mean, so for somebody to take a forced quarantine, you know, like they're all doing and be able to do something with that is incredible. I think so. I'm fully encouraged. It's going to continue.
Well, one of the most interesting things that Josh Finkenberg said last week, he said a couple interesting things, but one of the things I really locked into was him saying that Phish is now mainstream. And I was like, at first kind of like, nah. But if you think about what's going to happen with ticket demand was already crazy in cities like New York City. And when they would play the Garden or they would any kind of show that was small after the Baker's Dozen, the demand just blew up. And there could be, I mean, the biggest demand ever for Phish tickets coming out of this.
Yeah, that would be great. That would be great for the band.
Well, it'd be great. And it also would be a pain in the ass for a lot of people.
It's hard to get tickets or the price. It's creeping, man. It's over $110 now with fees or no fees, I forget, but it's not easy anymore.
No, you can't buy a whole tour for $400. Yeah. Jeni, do you think Phish is mainstream?
I wouldn't use that term. But
I didn't think so.
One thing, I think it was after Halloween 18, is that we both got a little sad saying, I think we lost our band. Like it was the point when they're going to become stadium artists.
Well, I felt that in 94 when I saw them at the Wiltern. I met John Paluski after the show, and I was like, damn, these guys are going to be in stadiums in a couple of years. And they still haven't really, they've done a couple baseball stadiums, but still haven't played this stadium thing. You know, we're very lucky to have smart, intelligent ladies in our scene. So I thank you all for coming on today and broadening our horizons. You know, I got a lot of shit for the Sausage Fest last week, but I already had the plan. Once that was in, I already knew that the next week was the ladies, and I want to have Bethany back on, and I also have to have my friend Jay on from Phish Tour 2014. So we're going to be continue in the fan vein. I really enjoy talking to the people that are on the same page. You each have a quick second to plug something. I know Jeni has been working with Jim Pollock doing out these "We're All in This Together" posters, but they've been selling out. The T-shirts been selling out. Everything Jim does. Would you have anything coming up you want to tell us about?
Just stay tuned to Instagram.
What a popular item that the Pollocks are. How about you, Ashley?
Just if anybody's watching this and feels like they're in trouble or have any concerns or even just want to talk or need help, my website, GrooveSafe.com, has resources. You can reach out to me at any time. We also have donations so we can keep doing this. So there's a lot of ways to connect, but we're always here for you. And if you aren't able to speak up, we can figure out a way to keep you safe.
Great. And Elizabeth, want to hold up that book there?
You got it. Read Summer Tour. If you guys are missing tour, you can buy this on Amazon.
Amazon.
So my Kindle is $5.55.
Oh, there you go.
If you want it on Kindle, but it's a paperback though. But buy my book, y'all, and enjoy it.
I love it. Ladies, thank you for beautifying our show for 420 Live today. I appreciated having you all on and the excellent discussion. Thank you. I can't wait till we're all together dancing and having fun.
Peace.
Yay.
Bye, ladies. There you go, guys. 420 Live. We've had the ladies come on today. I mean, that was an honor to be able to talk to so much beautiful talent at one time. I just love coming on and talking to everybody. The show really fills my heart. I miss everybody. I miss the scene. And like I told you, I saw some live music on Saturday, and it just made me want more live music. So I can't wait to get this all dialed in. Peace, love, happiness to everybody. Here's the hug. Tomorrow, Greg Ormont. On Thursday, Dan Matthews from PETA. On Friday, Dave O from